All right. Mo, J. Edwards, Marty B. Welcome, welcome. Brian. All right. Maria's. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, they can hear us. There's a little lag. Okay, good. They said we're good. All right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So what I did, we have all right, 701 Marlon. Okay. All right. Before Senen gets off, let's just do a round robin real quick, Orlando, and introduce everyone.
Hi, Orlando Espinosa with Emineo Media. I actually want to introduce Senen Garcia with SG Law Group. Senen is an SBA Emerging Leaders graduate from 2014, the first year that it launched here in South Florida. Senen is a accountant slash attorney, so he's a double, a threat. And Senen is actually one of the few people that I know that actually read the CARES Act, because it's 800 pages, and I know that personally I would not read that. My brain would actually explode, my mind. But Senen did, and Senen is one of those passionate people that loves to help businesses. I know that he's worked with a lot of businesses, especially when it comes to government contracting. He works with small business community, and one of the things that he loves to do is to help assist and give information. Extremely knowledgeable. And then we have Althea Harris with the SBA. Althea is one of those amazing speakers, knowledgeable, and she's got a heart of gold, willing to assist and help the small business community. I don't go too much into the accolades of everything that they've been able to accomplish, because I think that authenticity is what actually generates the possibilities for business to gather information and so forth. So we're going to hear from them, and I'm going to chime in whenever I can. And uh, within the changes that have been taking place recently, what we wanted to do was highlight some of the aspects of the CARES Act that people may not know, and also highlight some of the specifics for those that have actually already applied, that they really didn't know what they were applying for, because everybody was saying apply, apply, apply. So we want to break it down in conversation and have a dialogue and answer as many questions as we possibly can.
All right. No, that was great. That's great. Althea, thank you for joining us. Senen, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for
Yeah.
having us.
No, no, no. This is fun. I like it. I just wish I wasn't number 25, Orlando. But it's okay. By that time, now you should have perfected all the answers to all the questions that people have for you at this point, right?
Yeah, we have. Listen, this is the best one because this is the wrap up. This
Oh,
is the
this
wrap up of everything that we've learned and accumulated by
okay.
way of questions and so forth. So
Yeah.
we got this down pack. I mean, we can definitely take it on the road.
Okay. All right. Well, since you guys got it down pat, I'll let you run the show.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the CARES Act.
All right. So what we want to do is, instead of going into the specifics of everything that it entails,
Sure.
what we wanted to do was highlight, some of the things that people have actually questions about. So what I wanted Althea was to highlight and talk a little bit about actually, you know what, Senen, let's go with you first, since I know that there's a couple of things that you needed to do and so forth, Senen. But would you highlight, Senen, some of the things that people don't know about the CARES Act? Because everybody's talking about the money, the loans, the grants, and so forth. But I wanted Senen to highlight some of the things that the CARE Act talks about, especially when it comes to the student loans, the actual payroll, and employee taxes. So, Senen, you know what? Take it away.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, Eric. Hello to everybody out there in the YouTube world. One of the things that, and just to go quickly, obviously, as we all know, the disaster loan has been suspended for right now, and the PPP has run out of money. So, unfortunately, until we have, the SBA releases the EIDLs again, and until Congress enacts more funds for the PPP, we right now have no loans. But that does not mean that the CARES Act itself cannot still benefit your business. There are certain tidbits within the CARES Act that a lot of people don't realize can be helpful. The first one being student loans. Prior to this year, and it likely may not exist again next year, but this year, you can actually take as a tax deduction the payment of student loans for your employees. So if you have employees that have student loans, this is a good way to help them and and also help you. So you can actually pay their loans and treat it as a deduction on your side. So both sides win. So it's a great way to show that you care, a great way to help, and at the same time, it's also a good deduction for you. Now, for those business owners that are listening and saying, hey, well, I have student loans, I'd like to deduct mine, not so fast. There is a cap on the total amount of student loan deductions that can go to owners of 5% or more, and that's 5% of the total loan deductions that your business expenses. So keep that in mind. With respect to payroll taxes, there's a couple of things regarding payroll taxes that small businesses can take advantage of. One is the payroll tax redemption credit. We're able to take a 50% deduction up to qualified wages, which are $10,000. It's on the Social Security part of the tax, and it's a refundable credit. So you're actually able to get a tax credit on your payroll filings, okay, which is great. And if your credit exceeds the tax due, you can take that as a refund or apply it to subsequent returns. Now, obviously, for those who are doing payroll, you know that this is the month to do payroll returns for the first quarter. And the IRS is wholly aware that all these changes happen very fast. It happened so fast that they could not update their own forms. So the IRS is actually going to calculate, based on the information they have, your payroll tax credit should you qualify for it. So when you submit it, you're going to use a normal 941 return. They will then calculate based on the information available to them regarding your payroll for that quarter and regarding the revenue streams that they have, and they will calculate the credit. Now, very important to know regarding this credit. One, if you apply for the PPP loan forgiveness, this credit isn't allowed for you. And if you didn't have enough loss in revenue, you have to have a 50% loss in revenue, you won't qualify for the credit. Okay, so keep that in mind. But one good thing is that if you do qualify for the credit in subsequent quarters, if you go ahead and calculate your credit to be a certain amount, and you know you have an actual tax bill due, you don't have to send the tax bill up and then get the credit later. You can actually reduce your payment by that credit and then send the difference. And then, of course, when you calculate your 941s, you'll, of course, be able to factor that in. Obviously, the first quarter, you won't be able to do that. Send it in as normal, and the IRS will calculate it based on the information they have. And if, of course, you filled out a PPP loan application, they'll know, and of course, a loan forgiveness. Now, the other aspect of the payroll taxes is if you can't pay the tax, if you don't have the ability to pay the tax, the IRS is saying, based on the CARES Act, they will delay the due date to the end of the year. They will defer. You can defer them. Now, that only regards penalty, doesn't regard interest. So your tax is still due on the dates they're still due on. However, the delay will not cause you to suffer a penalty. You may still be subject to interest, so keep that in mind. And as I've been saying in the past, if you can pay the tax, pay it. This is just for those who really can't afford to pay it. Last thing you want to have is a situation where you're waiting until the end of the year and then all of a sudden you have this huge tax bill and now you can't pay it. So if you can afford to pay it, pay it. And remember, half of this payroll amount comes out of your employees' paychecks. What does that mean? That means that this is not really an expense on your part. This is money that should have been earmarked from an employee. Right. So as a result, if you don't pay this, this is a personal liability on you, the owner. This is not something you can say, oh, I have a business, so I'm protected. No, not in the case of this. And you cannot absolve this in bankruptcy because this is a government debt. So keep that in mind. On that note, I turn the floor over back to you, Orlando.
Listen, and thank you so much, Senen. And I think that one of the things that as business owners, we're bombarded with so much information, and we're trying to make sense of everything that's out there, from the EIDL loan to the PPP to everything else that's being offered. So thank you for sharing that, Senen. I wanted to actually turn, normally we say the floor, but now we have to say the screen. So I want to turn the screen, now to Althea, because one of the things that a lot of small businesses have been overthinking has been the advancement that some people call a loan, but or a grant, but it's actually an advancement. But I want you to break that down, Althea, and explain a little bit of what that specifically is.
Sure. Thanks so much. I really appreciate the chance to clear up a few things, I hope. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program that SBA runs has been around for decades. The CARES Act is not even 3 weeks old. It's a baby on the landscape of federal assistance. But one of the things about the CARES Act is that it added a dimension to our economic injury disaster loan known as this up to $10,000 loan advance. And it added that dimension, which caused a great deal of interest in our loan program and a great number of applications. So when that happened and was implemented, our website took a beating, and we had to do 3 iterations of our website to handle the traffic. So when we finally streamlined it, because of the great demand on the program, one of the last things that we've done is to really emphasize that it is a loan advance against the monies you are applying for in the form of a loan. Yes, it does not have to be repaid, but SBA will demand to see how you spend the loan advance. And if you misappropriate those funds, there's a good chance you will jeopardize your ability to get additional monies from the SBA program. And in an effort to make as much money available to as many small businesses as possible, SBA limited the amount of money that each individual borrower could obtain through the loan advance process. So if you have 1 or 2 employees, SBA in the form of the advance is sending $1,000 to $2,000, $1,000 for each employee. And the goal of the loan advance, according to the CARES Act, was to put money quickly into the hands of business owners. But because of the great demand, it hasn't been that quick. The CARES Act also says that SBA will give this money to business owners within 3 days of a successful application. And so naturally, business owners understood that to mean that they would get within 3 days money after they click submit. And that is not what it means. It means 3 days from the time that we are able to process your application. At the end of the day, I do realize that folks feel like they ought to be able to have this money right away. The thing about this money is it is taxpayer money. So yes, they have, and I understand why they would feel like they should have it, but at the same time, we are fiduciaries of the taxpayers' money. And so we need to make sure that the people we're giving it to really are who they say they are, and they really have a demonstrated need. So folks have been very frustrated, understandably. Again, we knew that the PPP money would eventually be dispensed. It's not an infinite amount of money. Neither is the EIDL loan advance money that came with the CARES Act. So for those folks who have already applied, we're asking you to be patient. We are moving through that process. We are not taking additional applications at this time, and we're hoping to move through the backlog quickly.
And thank you very much, because I think that that's one of the things with a lot of the small businesses. They just feel overwhelmed. They want answers, and right now we may not be getting the answers that we want or need. But one of the reasons why we wanted to go ahead and put this together with Eric was that to be able to disseminate information and to let business owners know that we understand. Listen, I'm a business owner. I understand the frustrations at times, but I also realize the importance of having information. One of the things that I actually wanted to highlight, and Senen, please chime in, is with the PPP and how that actually works when it comes time to have the loan forgiven. What are some of the requirements that a lot of businesses are going to actually have to do, or what the business owners are going to have to do in order to have that loan forgiven?
We can hear you.
How about now?
Okay,
Yes.
Yep, better.
So one of the things you have to do is you have to apply for the loan forgiveness. A lot of, contrary to what people believe, that, the PPP automatic gets forgiven. It doesn't. You have to physically apply for it. Second of all, it is not the full balance of the loan that gets forgiven. It's just the first 8 weeks from when the loan starts. So it's not, oh, I applied for 6 months worth of PPP, now it's all get forgiven. No, only the first 8 weeks, roughly the first 2 months of it is going to be forgiven. The rest is still going to be a loan that has to be repaid. Now it's fairly decent terms. You got 2 years at 1%. So it's not bad, but you still got to repay it. So keep that in mind. Now the application has not been released. The specifics that we know of currently regarding the loan forgiveness are based on average number of payroll employees. And they will take that first 8 weeks and they will compare it to the same period last year or the first 8 weeks of this year. And so long as your average number from the first 8 weeks when the loan starts to the beginning of this year or from the same period last year are the same, you will qualify. Now, a big issue is with respect to the dollars. At least 75% of that loan forgiveness element must go to payroll and payroll costs. Okay, that means that if you have, and yes, you can use the PPP for rent, for utilities, for interest on debt obligations. None of that changes, but that non-payroll cost element cannot exceed 25% of the amount you're seeking forgiveness on.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because I thought that the payroll PPP, Payroll Protection Program, right?
Mhm.
I thought it was just for payroll.
No, you can.
Can we talk about that? Because I don't know if I think that's an assumption that we all made. Can we tell people that first? Let's start there. I know you guys have done this a lot, but people that are listening, this might be their first go round at this.
Well, the majority, the bulk of it is designed for payroll, and you certainly use the full amount for payroll. In fact, that's what the main premise of the Payroll Protection Program was designed for. In fact, that's why it has the word payroll in it. But it's limited to payroll. You can use it for rent, you can use it for utilities, and you can use it for interest on debt obligations, so long as those obligations existed prior to February 15th of this year. Now, there are some nuances to the interest. For example, you can refinance a disaster loan into the PPP if you wish. However, if you applied for EIDL with the disaster loan known as EIDL, with the intention of using those funds for payroll, you must refinance those balances within the PPP. Okay. But you can use it for those things. Now, it just so happens that those non-payroll costs, the interest, the rent, utilities, cannot exceed 25% of the forgivable amount. That's a big kicker, because the majority, while you can use it for these non-payroll costs, the main premise of it, it was meant primarily for payroll. Now, what goes into calculating payroll, that iteration has changed since the CARES Act came out. So that might be, a recipe for confusion amongst a lot of people. In fact, we just had another one come out a couple of days ago that clarified it even further. So the main premise on that is what's payroll? Payroll is what you report in your 941s. If you pay sick leave, you pay vacation, insurance, not employment taxes. Very clear. Employment taxes does not count towards payroll costs. And it doesn't count towards non-payroll costs either. So you can't use employment taxes. The employee's portion, yes. So it's a gross pay of the employee and any costs associated with that. Now, that's for regular if you're doing it the right way, or I shouldn't say the right way, but you're doing it the way that it's standard. Let's say you have a partnership, and a partnership, of course, is an LLC or a general partnership or limited partnership. And of course, as defined by the IRS, meaning you have to have two individuals as far as the IRS goes. You can deduct and consider payroll costs the general partners that are actually conducting work. They're guaranteed payments because, as we know, partners don't necessarily take out taxes, and it's perfectly okay for partners. That, for the purposes of payroll, counts as payroll costs. Then we get into sole proprietors, which also include disregarded entities, which are single member LLCs. Basically, you set up an LLC, they think they're a partnership. No, you're not. For the IRS's purposes, you're a Schedule C unless you take an S election. In those scenarios, if you have employees, you take the 941s just like you normally do. Great. If you don't have employees, then you do your owner's, whether you have employees or not, you include that. If you don't, and it's just you do the profit. The profit of your Schedule C is considered your owner's compensation. That would count as payroll costs as well.
Wow.
Okay, so, and that's important for people that
I think you should repeat that. That.
Fair enough.
The profit of your
Profit, if you have a Schedule C, if you
Right.
report on your business on a Schedule C,
Yeah.
the profit, it's known as your owner's compensation for the
Right.
purpose of the CARES Act, is where they will base the payroll, presuming you don't have employees. If you have employees, then it's your profit for you and then your payroll that you pay your employees. Those two amounts combined equal your payroll costs. Very big important point though, none of those amounts could exceed 100,000 for anyone, including
Okay.
you alone.
Right.
So you're capped at 100 of what you can get for that.
Okay.
And of course, you have to meet the definitions of what a small business is. So that's a very important point. And it's 500 is the number of small business.
Okay, someone has a question
Employees.
here, real quick. Randy Evans says, under the PPP loan, if I laid off an employee and received PPP funds, do I need to rehire that exact laid off employee, or can I hire a new employee if the original employee is unavailable?
You remember, it's based on the average number of workers, not the workers you hired.
Okay.
So
That's
if you
right.
had in that comparison period 10 employees and you have 10 employees, you're good. It doesn't matter who those 10 are.
Right. And, the reason, Eric, is because, your employee, for all we know, is stuck on a cruise ship, right? And
Yeah.
can't get
Yeah.
off.
Yeah,
Your
true.
employee may have passed away. Your employee may be stuck in Spain, so the government is not looking to match person for person. But I did hear that as it relates to unemployment compensation, there is going to be an effort to find out where employers offered employees rehirement, whether if they declined and went for unemployment, there may be some consequences for that.
No, that makes sense. That makes a lot of
Now,
sense.
and there's an interesting tidbit with 1099s, and it was an unintended consequence of the law of trying to rush it through because they wanted to help out people. And, some senators caught it, but it was too late to deal with it because at that point they needed to help. And it's a situation regarding unemployment compensation with independent contractors, because the way the law is written, as an independent contractor, you really have two routes, one of two routes you could take. Now, right now, there's no money in the PPP, so you're kind of left with one. But in prior, you could take the PPP for yourself. However, you also have the opportunity as an independent contractor to take unemployment compensation, and the federal government is giving, and in addition to the unemployment compensation through the state, they're giving you an additional $600 per week up to 39 weeks for an independent contractor for unemployment purposes. So you can still take that. So if you're listening, you're like, I'm an independent contractor, let's say you're an Uber driver. That's a classic one I could think of right now.
Sure.
And I can't apply for the PPP right now because there's no money, or I wasn't going to apply for the PPP. What can I do? That's another option. You can do the unemployment route, and you get what the state's going to give you plus an additional $600 per week, up $600 per week, up to 39 weeks.
Okay. Someone asked a question. Does this work for single member LLC, sole proprietor with one employee?
That's exactly what I was describing with the Schedule
Right.
C. So they would take their profit. If in the PPP scenario, they would take the profit, and that would be their owner compensation that they would base their payroll costs on.
Okay. Quentin Swift, after I register with all agencies, may I apply for the loan, or do I need a time frame to be in business? No. Go ahead.
Well, for the EIDL, which right now, again, all loans are pretty much, you can't really apply for them right now. But should they, both come back online, the EIDL, you have to have been in business prior to January 31st. For the PPP, you had to have been in business prior to February 15th. And one important point is the EIDL, you apply directly with the SBA, the PPP you apply with through a bank. Now, normally banks, and it's not just an FYI, this is under the 7A program. Now, the 7A program normally required 2 years of activity. Because of what's going on, they're creating an exception to this for businesses that have been obviously operating less than 2 years. So long as you were operating prior to February 15th, you qualify. But there's two real prerequisites. You not only had to be in business prior to February 15th, you had to have payroll for the PPP. So keep that in mind. If you were operating before February 15th, but you had no payroll, you really don't have that as your option. You have really the EIDL if and whenever that comes back online, because it's a little bit more expansive in terms of what you can use it for.
in order to qualify, you had to file your 2019 taxes, correct? Is that
No,
assumption? No?
no, not for the SBA's economic injury disaster loan.
Okay.
Because technically, 2019 taxes aren't even currently
Right.
due until July 15th.
Okay.
So we were taking, by way of proof, your profit and loss statement for 2019 and your tax returns for 2018, personal and business.
Okay.
Oh, and current financial statements.
The only
all right.
thing that was really required for the PPP, if anything, we were 941 tax filings.
Right.
And that's if you were reporting employees, you know, your 941 employees. If you were doing a scenario where you're doing a Schedule C or your partners and it's just two general partners, then obviously it would just be those amounts, which would require a 941 filing.
All right. Someone says my CARES Act check was deducted by my actual unemployment check. Why would that happen?
Come again?
It says
Say
my CARES Act check was deducted by my actual unemployment check.
Something doesn't sound right there.
I know those kind of
Those two
don't
go together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there might that be one where I'd probably inquire because that doesn't sound right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Someone asked, is there a program, any SDVO SB specific loans?
What kind of specific loans? I didn't
Service
hear.
disabled veteran owned business?
Not that I'm aware of. All small businesses with employees under 500 in number were eligible,
Right.
regardless of that kind of status.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're encouraging the businesses to do, definitely research and ask questions, because I know that the SBA has resource partners within the SBDC, the Women's Business Center, SCORE, Bebop. And I think that one of the things that we wanted to do this, Eric, was to let the business owners know that they're not alone, that there are resources out there. You know, I'm a business owner, you know, Senen is a business owner. Althea is a great source with resource with the SBA. But I do believe that now we want businesses to actually prepare themselves, because we were actually, you know, discussing businesses that already applied. But if this opens up again, we want people to go in and actually collect the document that needed and the information needed, and to definitely start building a relationship with their bank, because at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. We know what we know, but right now, you know, if this opens up again next week or 2 weeks, we want to make sure that those that did not have a chance to apply and are still waiting, that they actually do their due diligence so that they can be one of the first ones to apply.
You know, Orlando, I think that's a great point, because I always tell people to be prepared, right, for when opportunity comes. So if you're sitting right now, maybe I was not prepared when it first came around, but this gives us an opportunity to get prepared, to get my financials together, to get my documents together, so that in the event that it does come around, boom, I'm ready to go and I can take action. So
Yeah, and that's so critical. And you know, the sad thing is that we say that all the time, and yet we don't do it, right?
Right.
We live here in South Florida, and we know hurricane season comes around every year. And do we get ready? No, we don't.
Right.
But I'm hoping that the urgency of the hour will compel folks to get ready, to pull your documents together, to do your calculations, because even under the PPP, some banks were, as a courtesy, helping their clients do those calculations, but you know, others were not. And if you didn't know what your payroll costs were, you delayed yourself trying to understand the answers to that question.
Now, I got a list of banks, so it looks like all banks were not participating.
Well, they all could, because first of all, most banks in America are eligible and authorized to do SBA 7A loan guarantee program, which is our normal everyday loan program that we have that helps business owners not in crisis, you know, when the nation or even part of the nation is in crisis. And so all of them had the facility and the ability to do these loans. Whether they did them was another, you know, story. And then the Treasury brought on federally insured deposit institutions who were not 7A lenders, and they brought on credit unions, and they brought on PayPal and Intuit and Square. So we were really making an effort, the federal government was, to provide these channels that people could access the PPP, and they were doing that. So we had over 4,500 lenders participating in the PPP program. When it was all said and done, we had done over 1 million loans valued at $349 billion. So in less than 3 weeks.
Oh, you guys are cranking.
In less than 3 weeks. So I honestly say, I know everybody's not happy. We are very aware that there is a lot of frustration out there, but the Herculean effort that we made and the along partner banks and financial institutions to get this out, these small businesses and nonprofits to help employees, millions of employees, millions across the country have money in their pockets. And if they begin to spend it, will keep our economy moving. And I think of our economy now as one of those old locomotives on the train track. And you know, the wheel starts out really slow.
Yeah, it starts going.
I'm really hoping that, you know, the PPP and SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is putting some momentum in those wheels to get us turning again until we can all get back to work and some understanding of normalcy.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add to that also, really quickly, as business owners, we're always talking about, if I had time to create this, if I had time to generate another revenue stream. And guess what, people? A lot of you have time right now.
That's right.
It's not time to sit idle. It's not time to sit back and just wait. I sit back in a lot of the businesses that we work with. One of the key things that we always talk about, I said, listen, I said, if you don't take the time, you know what, if you're wasting your time and not creating your success, then maybe time isn't the issue. Maybe it's, you know what, discipline. Maybe you need to discipline yourself to actually look after, especially people that may be thinking about going into government contracting. Maybe people that were excited about saying, hey, I want to do business with the government, or people saying, I want to change my website. I want to update my website. I need to change my marketing material. I want to generate a new revenue stream. And I believe that, unfortunately, in this situation, we probably may lose more businesses to the COVID-19 than actual people, and both would be a tragedy. But the overall goal is to make sure that people sit back and realize it's not just the money that's going to help save your business. It's your creativity, it's being proactive, and it's talking to other business owners and to figure out what it is that they're doing.
I have to agree with you on that, Orlando. I really do. And, you know, the wonderful thing about being, you know, Americans is that our entire country really is founded on a can-do attitude. And that has helped us for, you know, centuries, and even pushed us through the industrial age into the technological age. So I'm hopeful about the rebound, very hopeful. And even if, as you say, you know, many businesses won't survive, what I do believe is we'll see a bunch of Phoenix businesses rising from the ashes. One of the great joys in all of the webinars I've had was a gentleman who asked, can I use the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan to buy my competitor, you know, who's going out of business? And I thought, wow, this is real. I mean, how this is just exactly the entrepreneurial spirit that we want. And of course, the answer to that question is no.
Right. Yes. No, good. A resounding
You can't.
no. Resounding no. Okay. A couple questions. I received an EIDL advance of $10K deposited into our bank account on April the 14th. But I've not heard anything from the SBA office or agent. Should I expect to hear from someone about the application soon?
Yes, I think you will eventually hear from someone. And I'm delighted for you that you were able to get the full $10,000. It's really important that you utilize that money wisely and appropriately in your business, ideally to meet payroll demands. But remember, the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan is for your fixed monthly debts that you would have otherwise been able to pay had it not been for the disaster. So, you know, you can't use it to pivot to something new. You've got to use it for what you would have used it for if it hadn't been for the disaster, because in order to get additional monies from SBA, you're going to have to demonstrate what you did with the $10,000. So it's really important that you use that money appropriately and wisely.
And that 10,000, go ahead, Senen.
I wanted to add this because this is another thing that I've noticed from some people that they're like, oh, you know, my business wasn't doing so well. This is a godsend. I'm now going to be able to take a loan and keep my business afloat. If you weren't suffering before the virus and the virus caused you to suffer, this is what these loans were for. But if you were already suffering a downturn and now you're looking to take advantage of the virus, you will be denied. This is not for you. So don't look at this as this was, you know, God's way of giving you a lifeline. No, that's not what this was designed for. This is only and specifically designed for those directly impacted. In fact, whether it's a disaster loan, whether it's the PPP, whether it's the redemption credit, the student loan, whatever benefits that have come from this, the first and most important requirement, you must have been negatively impacted by the virus to necessitate the need for these funds, not something prior to the virus. You know, so very important, very, very, very important on that front.
Yeah, agreed. Because at the end of the day, what the emphasis is that you're borrowing or receiving these benefits from the federal government. And the federal government does not tolerate fraud, waste, abuse, and will look for people to make an example of. And all you have to do is Google folks who have been crushed by the federal government. Even if you know you made a mistake, that all depends on how the prosecutor sees things. And if they don't see it as a mistake, then it's just not a happy scene. Not a happy scene.
Wow. Someone asked, does the EIDL require a detailed business plan?
No.
Okay.
No, the application is extremely easy
right now.
Right now. So one of the things that I also wanted to talk about, that right now there's people that I've heard that they're trying to charge people to fill out these forms, and people that want to take out a percentage as well of the monies that they're actually getting from the federal government. That in itself is a no-no, because it's money, it's pretty much our tax dollars that they're using to help the small businesses. So when people come in and say, well, I want to charge someone $500 to fill out the EIDL loan application or the PPP. Remember, the PPP, you're going directly through the bank. And other people are saying, well, I'm going to charge them a percentage of the monies that they get. Once again, you have to meet the requirements. So one of the things that I encourage the business owners, do your due diligence. Don't overthink the process. Don't overcomplicate it. And the SBA has actually simplified the process. I did not apply, but I sat back and I went in and I walked through the process. And when I looked at it, I'm like, wow, this is as easy as anything for the business owners. I just think that people are sometimes scared because they may think, well, I have to have this document, I have to have those. And right now, for a lot of businesses that had they did their due diligence and had all of the documentations, that's a lot of businesses that were actually funded. Those were a lot of businesses that actually have gotten the money because they did their due diligence. And listen, technology is amazing, because I actually got someone texting me asking a question because they're watching us live. So, someone wanted to know what happens to people, and thank you, Melissa. What happens to people who already submitted the PPP? Won't they get second phase of money first before those who actually are going to apply once the money opens up, if it opens up?
Okay, so number one, if you applied for the PPP, all may not yet be lost for you. Okay, it depends on if your banker or the financial institution put your application in to SBA for consideration. If they did, and we said yes, the bank still has 10 days to get the money to you. So you could be approved and don't know it yet, okay? That's number one. Number two, there is currently no capacity to create a line, if you will, for the next round of funding. And this is why when folks like me and Orlando and Senen, who have been SCORE counselors, one of our resource partners in the past, have said to you, assemble your dream team. your lawyer, your banker, and your CPA. This is where the banker part really comes in handy, because if you have a banker's number who is participating in this, you can hopefully get their attention rather than being stuck in the queue on an online portal at a major bank. You have no idea what has happened to your application. So it would be important now, in anticipation of future funding, to say, and court the banks, or in the case of, you've seen bankers reaching out to you when you go to that networking thing. If they come to where you are, follow up and see if they can potentially help you. Look for a relationship with a lender that's going to work for you and them. But there's no capacity now to create a line or give you a number for the second round of phase funding, if there is such a thing. And I say that because Congress is not currently in session. And as the last time I heard the news, they were not expected to be in session until May 4th. So if that's the case, you've got at least a couple of weeks or so to get yourself together, get your relationships together, and see if you can apply again, ready. And incidentally, you can Google the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program application. It's online. It's an SBA form. And I think the form number is 2483. And the lender one, I think, is 2484. So it would be helpful to take a look at those two forms, understand what the bank is having to tell us, because they're going to get that information from you. And then they're also going to shove our SBA form and tell you to fill that out. Work on that now. It's not a mystery for second round funding what's going to be asked for. There may be some nuances from the first PPP, but it's going to probably be largely the same.
So if I apply for PPP and my bank put our application in, and you said the SBA's approved it, they have 10 days to issue the money.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So regardless of what we see on TV about the money run out, it's still.
Yeah, because in a sense, what's really happened is all the money's been
allocated,
committed. You know what I mean, or earmarked by the fact that the application went in.
Okay, no, I think that's a really clear point, because people, again, what they say is, oh, the money ran out, right? Right, zero. Like it's like it went from all this money to zero, and that's not what happened. Okay, so you could potentially, or your money could be coming to you if you already approved.
Right, and it's worthwhile to follow up with your bank and ask, hey, did my application make it into the SBA system? Because if it did and it wasn't kicked out, there's a good chance that you can still be funded. I mean, they still have 10 days. So now 11 days from now, you don't have any money, then that's probably a clear sign that you didn't get the PPP.
Okay. Someone said Orlando, and again, I don't know, I don't have this information. They said the website itself says you can charge a fee for consulting.
I'm not sure what they're talking about, but look, I think what Orlando's point really is that, listen, of course, you as a PPP applicant, you can contract with anybody you want to help you. Sure. But you should be mindful of that. You should not be giving a percentage away of your PPP, because remember, like Senen told you, if you don't use that money appropriately, it will not be forgiven. Now, if you don't care about that, that's different, Sure. But if you want the loan forgiven, you've got to abide by the parameters of the loan, which are that 75% is expected to be spent on payroll costs, and they're articulated out there. And then you may use up to 25% of the PPP funds for certain other costs like mortgage insurance, rent, or utilities, obligations for which you had before February 15th. If you don't use the monies correctly, then you run the risk of not having those funds forgiven. And so if you peel off a percentage of your PPP money to someone who helped you fill out the form, then you have a challenge.
Right.
Yeah. And keep in mind that in the statement, it's simplifying the process. What I wanted to talk about was how you simplify. The application is a simple process. Now, if people choose businesses to pay someone to fill it out for them, that's on them. Because you know what, at the end of the day, it's their business and they run it how they choose to. But I also want to stress the mere fact that I'm not opposed to consultants helping and making money. That's okay. But I'm also very conscientious that we have to be mindful that we're not price gouging, that we're not coming in and charging someone an exuberant amount of money.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I think that that's more so what I'm trying to say.
Right.
You know, because I do believe that there are people that look at the application and it's simplified. I know people that are helping other people, you know, to fill out the forms. And you know what? And my thought is if you're going to charge a nominal fee to assist and help someone, that's on you. It's all about reputation, but be mindful that there are certain restrictions, you know what, when it comes to charging a percentage. That's why I said the percentage more so, to Althea's point, because a lot of businesses, they don't know. Remember, this is money that's being guaranteed by the SBA. The EIDL loan is directly through the SBA. The PPP is being guaranteed. So it's going back to federal money. Do the right thing. Listen, one thing that I sit back and I realize at this point, there may be business owners that mentally they are exhausted, that they can't even think, because to Althea's point in a previous call that we had was business owners are worried about their employees. That's the number one, you know what, concern that we've been getting, people that feel bad for their employees. But I do believe that one of the things that maybe a business owner their head is not on right to come in and fill out the form. But as a consultant, you know what, take this time, yes, to help, but be conscientious of what you are charging and keep it to where you may have repeat business if you are doing the right thing and helping people in this time of need.
Right. You're not trying to hurt people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Althea, I will say someone, Randy Evans said, so true. My banker got me the PPP loan funds. So.
See? Yay! Yay, Randy.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
No, that's great. That's great.
That's exciting, you know.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and it's, you know, it's a little nerve-wracking, you know, towards the end, or even when you know the money is coming out and wondering if you're going to get a piece of that. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Randy.
No, that's great. That's great. Let's see. Someone asked, Chioma says, can the origination date of a PPP loan be pushed past 10 days?
Well, normally it's when you get the money, that's when the loan starts. You'll be notified when the loan starts. So it's not really about pushing it. It's when it happens. And this, of course, is up to the bank and the SBA. So, and of course, they're processing these based on need. So you have to ask yourself, if you can wait 10 days, do you really need this money? So, you know.
Yeah, and it's going to be given to you electronically. So there's not a way, if the question is about starting on a certain date and time for the loan to start, because that's when you got the money, if that's the issue, it's going to be electronically funds dropped in. And I don't see a bank, you know, with a machine, you know, a well-oiled machine moving to put money into your account saying, oh, wait a second, no, Mary Jane doesn't want her money yet. You know, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're just going to process and send the money out.
Okay. Someone says, we received a promissory note from our bank, B of A, for the PPP loan about 5 days ago. Can we still anticipate approval / funding at this point? Or is that internal language?
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, Senen? I think so. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already issuing a note, they better. That's all.
I mean, it's Bank of America too, right? It's not like,
yeah, I mean,
you know, they do their due diligence.
Like,
no, I mean, Bank of America would not issue anybody anything in writing if it wasn't going to come through.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign. I mean, I'm never one to say anything until I see it. So until the money's in there, that's what we know. But yeah,
you have to say it looks really good. We're not saying, but it looks really good.
It looks really good. Huh? It looks really good. Okay, so I'll go. Someone asked, what are the options for a furloughed W-2 employee forced to take 2 weeks without pay that's also an independent contractor?
Well, the options they have are the ones I mentioned. I mean, right now, of course, the PPP.
Some people might have come on later, so we could just repeat. Yeah.
So if, you know, right now you have one option at this point if you're an independent contractor. One is you can seek unemployment. You get your regular unemployment plus $600 per week for a maximum of 39 weeks. Again, if you're an independent contractor. If we get the PPP back, then you have another option. Now, of course, this is one or the other, because you obviously can't continue operation and yet say you're not unemployed, and then say you're you gotta really make the decision whether you're going to be staying afloat with your business or you're going to call it quits. So that's an important distinction. If you're going to go the route of unemployment, you can do it what I just said. If you think, oh, I can hold out until hopefully the PPP gets replenished, you as a self-employed individual can apply for the PPP using your profit from the Schedule C business as the basis for your payroll costs. But as Althea mentioned, if for those that weren't in earlier, Congress is not deemed to be in session until the earliest May 4th. So we have 2 weeks at least until that date. So keep that in your minds when you're wondering whether to wait or whether to just go ahead and bite the bullet and take the unemployment benefits.
Someone mentioned, and maybe you guys know this since we're all out of Florida, says Florida still isn't offering unemployment for 1099ers.
No, they are offering for unemployment. The problem is the system that was in place was a mess. What they're doing now, or what some counties have started doing, is they've started to do old school paper applications at various locations. Not all counties are doing that. So you have to check with your local leaders to see if they're doing that. I know, for example, in Miami-Dade County, you could go to a library where they would have unemployment unemployment applications for you to fill out, so you could submit them paper mail. DeSantis just terminated the last individual that was in charge of revamping the system. He put somebody else in there, so the hope is that the system will be back up and running. But unemployment is open. It's just it's a mess. It's a backlog at Tallahassee. That's a big issue.
Okay. Earlier, Orlando, you mentioned about the SBDC centers and the SBA. How are those facilities? How would I get access to those facilities now, given the current climate and the environment? Maybe it's a question for Althea. Right?
No, and I think that Althea can give you the actual numbers, but I know that the local SBDC here in South Florida and Miami, what they've been doing is that they initially started helping with the Florida bridge loan. So they were actually helping the businesses when they actually were applying for the bridge loan, but they haven't stopped providing the no-cost consulting, where they're actually helping the businesses. And also we have
offices are still open.
Yes,
you can still physically go to an office.
Not physically, but
okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
How are they doing? Yeah.
Virtually. Listen, we've been doing everything virtually. We just
really.
Yeah, we've actually been meeting virtually. We just had a previous Zoom meeting with the Venture Cafe here in South Florida. Althea, Senen, and Raju, one of the consultants from the SBDC, was on the call, and they are here to help. They actually just came up with an actual guide that provide the specifics of what businesses are going to need to gather, collect. So one thing that, and I don't know if we can actually, I'll give you the link so you can share.
Yeah, we can. We can share it. I can share the screen.
Yeah.
Pull up your screen. We can share it.
Right, because right now, resource-wise, and Althea, I'll let you highlight a couple of things, because I do have the slide that we shared with the link and so forth.
Sure.
Okay?
So, Eric, to your question, of course not. We're all remote now. There's no one in the federal building downstairs to let you. Maybe the guards are there, but there's no one at our offices. And we've been remotely managing and helping our small businesses for a long time now, for probably a month or so.
Okay.
And but we are available, and I would say that now is a great time to capitalize on what Orlando said earlier, that folks have time to really begin to engage the Small Business Development Center experts, to engage with the SCORE counselors remotely through email, through Skype, to really golly molly, to really think hard about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Because what I know is that we have information overload, information bombardment.
Yes.
And there is no way to really process everything that comes at us. But now you can, right? Because unfortunately, you are not driving in your car to get to your location
Right.
and trying to text and drive and keep up and listen to the news at the same time. Now, you have at least eliminated the commute. So how can you capitalize on that time? Well, maybe this is the time for you to engage the Small Business Development Center, like Orlando mentioned. And they are, when a disaster is declared, they are SBA's partner who moves into disaster mode to help small businesses apply for the Express Loan Bridge Loan Program here in the state of Florida, to apply for the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or even the Physical Damage Loan, a program that we most people are familiar with. But this is a great time to dust off that business plan and see how do you shift, where your business has always been foundationally brick and mortar. Do you really have to have a commercial space anymore to do what you want to do, to offer your product or service to the world? Maybe it's time for you to look abroad and do exporting for a change. I don't know, Chinese don't look like they're suffering. You might try to go ahead on and, push your products out that way. The federal government is still open for business. We do still have the U.S. Export Assistance Center folks who can help you begin to pivot towards export markets. So I would encourage folks to use this time to, look through our websites, to reach out to us. Our website is sba.gov/South Florida, but you can also email us at.
And I have the information, Althea.
Thank you.
I got this.
Thank you, Orlando.
I'm gonna share.
Hey, put it in the chat, and I'll put it inside.
Yes, I'll do that.
Listen,
just type in the chat. How about that?
Okay, because listen, I was gonna share the screen so just you can see it.
You can share the screen, Orlando.
All right, so let me just share the screen.
By the way, Althea, in Orlando, I did receive the bridge loan, the last hurricane.
Nice.
Nice. Congratulations.
FIU down in Brickell. So
excellent.
Went into the office. I had all my paperwork together. And
nice.
I got the maximum too. I got 50,000. Interest free, 12 months, paid it back.
Excellent.
No problem.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Okay. So I did.
And that's the difference, isn't it, Eric, between being prepared?
It was huge.
And
I had all my paperwork.
You were prepared. You could get in because it's an up to $50,000 loan.
Right.
But if you don't have capacity for 50, we do you a disservice giving you a loan amount that you can't handle. So a lot of people go through that program and were upset that they only got 10,000, but that was their capacity. So.
Yeah, I know. I got the max 50,000.
Nice.
And I paid it back in the 12-month period. No problem.
Wow, that's incredible.
And congratulations, because let me tell you that this year, there were even more applications, and the money with the state ran out quickly, but the people that applied and had they got it.
I got it from FFC, Florida First Capital, something like that. FFC.
Nice.
I remember my people gave me my money.
There you go.
Look, anybody give you some money, you gotta remember them.
I hope so.
Listen, the people that treat you well, and I'm gonna actually share one of the other the slides that Althea mentioned with the contact information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can actually have that at least on video.
Sure.
So they can see there the office and everything that's available and so forth there.
Oh yeah, South Florida _DO at SBA.gov.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there. And listen, one of the things that we've been doing with a lot of these webinars, Eric, we wanted to have more of a grassroots, mindset. Because I had someone tell me, oh, well, we put a COVA, 19, and I said, event, and I'm like, oh, okay, we had about, 1,000 people. We had 10,000. And I'm like, yeah, but how many people did you actually help? Right. Because I think that the grassroots, the businesses, what they need is someone to let them know it's okay, because this is also affecting our psyche. It's affecting our mindset. A lot of people are stuck at home. Listen, I'm fine because I work from home. And for me, going to the bathroom and going to the bedroom is a vacation, it's a holiday. But I think that for a lot of people that are not used to being out, this is a time that you need to come in and pivot and make changes. We actually have a lot of the stories of the emerging leaders. I know you interviewed Karen Vieira. We actually have had mastermind groups where we've sat down and we've started talking, and we've had groups. Listen, one of the graduates from last year Emerging Leaders Program in South Florida, Carolina with Unique Cake Designs, I called her because I said, I've got a great idea for you. And she says, what? I said, I was watching videos of a mother that she's tutoring, and she's actually.
But you're not getting ready to give away her $1 million idea right now, are you?
No, I'm not.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me slow you down, brother. Wait a minute.
No, I'm not going to give it.
Go ahead, Orlando. What was the idea, Orlando? What was that idea?
Listen, I'm not going to give you the idea.
Nobody's listening, Orlando. This is between us four on here.
I'm not going to give you the idea. But I saw the parents, and the parents, you know what? They're pouring. One of the mothers, she's teaching the kids to count, and she's pouring wine in the glass. 1/4. You know what? Half a glass, and then she drinks it and she starts again. But that made me think of the amount of parents that are at home with their kids, and they find themselves in a difficult situation. So we sat down and had a conversation and talked about certain ideas. And let me tell you that she implemented what it was that I shared, but it was more so she implemented it to where it was comfortable for her. And I believe that that's where I'm looking at a lot of businesses. Listen, people are scared of this technology thing. People are more comfortable taking a selfie than actually, talking face to face with people.
Right, yeah.
But I do believe that, and I encourage you business owners, talk to other business owners, have a conversation. Don't look at the other people as a competition, but see how you can survive in this area. Because right now we're all navigating a foreign, element that we don't know. But I will tell you that a lot of the businesses that we work with the emerging leaders, we've sat down and we've actually had conversations where they have been pivoting, shifting, changing. Take this time to be creative. Take this time to design other aspects of generating revenue. Because remember, we always talk, don't just create one. So those that are listening to us that are only doing government contracting, use this time to actually go into the private sector. And those that are in the private sector, use this time to go into the government contracting. And if you're looking to get your 8A certification, do that now. If you're looking to get other certifications, use the time wisely now to make sure that you are being proactive. And you know what? Turn off the TV, put down the remote, stop watching. Yeah.
What?
What do you mean? No Netflix, Orlando?
I can't watch no more Netflix.
Right.
Come on, man.
I can't, man. Come on,
Lord.
listen, Orlando. Well, I'm gonna catch up on my favorite books. How's that?
Yes,
There you
read
go.
a book.
I'm gonna catch up on my favorite
good
book. I think we're all like 10 books behind for the year. I'm sure.
Yes.
I know I'm at least 10 behind.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, okay. Althea, so she caught up on her book. Yeah.
Hey, I'm looking for a hot tip too.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you, Orlando, I couldn't agree with you more. I had someone that reached out to me on Instagram, and he was a chef. And I said, look, I mean, again, I'm a contractor turned YouTuber, right? Like coach. And so I have a platform now. And I told the guy, I said, listen, why don't you take some of the recipes from a restaurant and make them and bring them online? And I said, if you do that, I would even feature you on my channel to give you an opening. Right. And I'm like, I would love to see that. Again, these are markets that were long. I mean, I don't think dieting, exercise, those markets will ever die. They'll ever go away regardless. So I'm like cooking shows. And I mean, those things have been around before we were here. They're going to be around after we're gone. I mean, that's just stuff that resonates with people and they want to see. And imagine having a chef or a sous chef from your favorite restaurant teaching a class now online or on any type of social platform.
Yeah. And I will give one idea. Go
ahead, Orlando. Give us an idea.
I'm going to give you an
idea.
idea.
Trying to kind of hush you up. Give us some ideas.
I was just trying to help my girl out.
Yeah.
Give us some ideas, Orlando.
So this is my thought. Imagine restaurants right now that are actually doing the Uber Eats and they're doing all of these actual platforms. Why don't you come in and go ahead and eliminate the applications and actually do your own deliveries with your own employees? And have your employees do the delivery for your company, your business. Some of them are doing curbside. And because now, going back to what we were talking about earlier, businesses are really, struggling.
I like that.
They had to let go of their employees. So maybe they can come in and use their employees to deliver. It's a new thing. You know what?
Yeah, I had a friend that
Yeah,
wrote a
I'll
book
tell
about
you.
that a long time ago. Actually, about 7 years ago, he wrote a book about that. That restaurants are going to start having to go to people, and not people just come to them. And then now with DoorDash and Postmates and those kind of services. But again, I agree. There's a lot of restaurants that you have to go to them to pick up the food, but why can't you call them up and they just deliver directly to you, like Domino's or Pizza Hut?
Well, I'll tell you what one of my favorite restaurants is doing here in Miami. Threefold Cafe is not only helping themselves, but they're helping their supply chain by moving the products in the supply chain, because you can't come and sit down at Threefold Cafe anymore.
Right.
So they're helping by packaging the produce so it doesn't go bad, because normally they'd be chopping up all that fresh organic stuff and serving it to you plate by plate. But now that's not happening. So you can go to Threefold Cafe and order a box of beautiful vegetables or marinated Churrasco steak. Now, people who are stuck at home are learning to cook, to your point, with
Right.
your friend that you're saying, hey, help us. Some of us, are takeout kings and queens
Right.
and
Show us.
or restaurant babies. And now we're forced to cook. So Threefold is helping you by at least, giving you fresh picks and tasty marinated meats that, you then go home and cook up for your family. So it's a way for them to not only stay relevant, but also help the people along their supply chain who make their restaurants successful under normal circumstances. So people helping people is a great way to begin thinking about how you can stay relevant in this new normal.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I know. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a show on that just specifically,
Uh-huh.
how to help your business pivot.
No, I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. So let's see. Someone said, how long after credit pull for EIDL should I expect an email from the SBA? They pulled mine Sunday the 12th, still no email.
Oh, good. Well, I see, I love doing these because I learn so much about even my own organization and what we're doing. So that's a good sign that they pulled your credit. So they're looking to make you a loan, it sounds like, or one of those advances. I tell people that under normal circumstances, SBA disaster assistance takes about 18 to 21 days to process a loan application. Of course, these are not normal circumstances. So I can't say, but the very fact that we are not taking any more applications must mean that we've taken a little bit of the pressure off of the analysis section. The machine has stopped being fed. So now we're able to process what we have. So I'm hoping, and we've been ramping up by hiring folks, underwriters, loan processors, customer service folks.
I was going to say you had to, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
No,
had
we
to hire
had to.
people. Right. Sure.
And what's that website to apply, Althea?
USA Jobs, you mean that one?
Yeah,
USA
that's the one.
Jobs.
Because someone asked me that today, and I was like, I'll put out for you. So see, I learned too.
Yeah, USA.
So go to USA Jobs so they can apply to work with the SBA to help.
Yes, it's a temporary, obviously, because we don't want this to be forever. Disasters are not to be forever. So yeah, it's a temporary job, but temporary in the sense that it could be like 6 months to a year. I mean, it's a long-term, short-term job.
Okay. Is there when we go to USA Jobs, there's a title or something we look for?
Well, I would just put, search by agency, SBA.
Okay.
And then it should turn back some of if it's not too late. But, we were ramping up to hire folks to help with the backlog. So I'm happy for you that we pulled your credit only 4 days ago. So maybe in 2 weeks or less, hopefully.
Okay. Let's see. Chilma says a business owner stated they asked their lender to start the loan in May when maybe stay home is over in California because we only have 8 weeks to spend on forgivable expenses.
Say that again.
A business owner stated that they asked their lender to start the loan beginning in May. Okay. They said, but maybe by that time, the stay at home is over with in California because there's only 8 weeks to spend on forgivable expenses.
You know what that sounds like to me? I always struggle, when you watch movies and you see people with limited supplies of water
Uh-huh.
and they don't know what to do. Do I drink it all now and hope to survive? Do I
Right.
ration it out?
Right. Right. What do you, I see what you're saying, right? If you still have to go beyond 8 weeks, then what happens?
Yeah, but you got to drink the water now. You don't, that was one of those overthink it things,
Silma?
that they should have just, listen, the very innocence of the question may have messed them up with their lender.
Yeah.
Because like Senen said, it's for 8 weeks of payroll and you say you need it. That's why you're applying.
But that's for the forgivable part, but you still get a longer part of loan.
Right, but here's the thing. If they're thinking way ahead, they're thinking of loan forgiveness. There's no loan forgiveness right now. It's just loans.
Right. Okay.
So think about it. I'm asking for a loan to start in May. I don't need it now. That doesn't bode well for the SBA saying, oh, you don't need, because if you need it, you're going to apply for it and you're going to get it.
Oh, because you have to have it. Yeah. You have
right
to have
now, one thing that, has been asked, and that was actually a good question, is, well, what if I apply and I get awarded the money? Can I say no? Well, at that point, yeah, you could say no, and then you can always reapply later. But the fact is why on earth would you even do that? I mean, if you need the money, take it. If you're not sure if you need the money, look, take the money.
If you're not sure you don't need it, you don't need it.
You don't need it. Don't apply for it. Don't wait until May to do it. I mean, because somebody asked the same question with the EIDL. Oh, well, can I apply for it and then say no? It says, well, yeah, you can. But if you need the money, you're applying because you need the money. If you're telling me, oh, I want to wait until May because I think it's going to get better then, well, then it means you don't need the money. So don't apply for it. If you need it, and apply for it. Because here, as we saw, we already ran out of money. It's done. We already we ran out of money in one, and the other one they're having to play catch up, so they've suspended it. So had you needed the money now, and now you were going to apply for it, too bad, so sad.
Right.
Don't assume anything. Right now, if you need money, go apply for it. Don't wait. And if this does open up where they expand the amount, apply for it. Because if not, it's going to run out again, and then what you're going to be doing is holding the bag, and you're not going to have anything left.
Right.
Oh, very good point. All right. Quentin said, thanks to Eric. Awesome panel. Lots of dialogue, lots of answers to questions. Thanks for building my confidence as I begin my journey. Thank you to everyone there.
Oh, thank you. Listen, take time to write. For people that love to write, I've been writing. I'm going to write Althea a text message while we're here. Take advantage of it. And one thing I will encourage the business owners, Eric, because I think a lot of people, that's what they need, is take time for themselves. They're stuck at home for a lot of people with their families, and we're being told to be teachers and be, tutors. And it's funny because I'm sitting down there looking at Althea and I know exactly where she's at, and the thing is that sometimes we just need our own time to replenish ourselves. And that's why I encourage people to process things right now and to create and design, because people have asked me questions. How do you stay motivated? Listen, I'm self-motivated, and it's not medication. It's just me, it's God. But I will tell you that one of the key things that I tell people is that you have to take time for yourself. Because we're in a situation right now that we're pretty much stuck in four walls. So for your own sanity, design, create. Maybe you need to update your website. Maybe you need to get someone to update your website. If you don't know how to navigate Zoom, get on Zoom or get on, any of these other platforms, but go out and do things that you haven't done.
Learn SEO.
Yeah, exactly.
Learn SEO. I mean, that can never hurt.
I mean, you have the time now. Maybe you wanted to upgrade your website and, maybe now's the time to redesign it. Maybe you could learn to do it. I don't know. I'm not that high tech, but, you have the time now. Use it wisely.
Okay. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Someone said, okay, we already answered that question. I want to apply for SBA loan, but the bank sent me the details paper today. I watched it. Yeah, Marlon, unfortunately, the money's ran out on the loan, so you can no longer apply at this time. But what the conversation we're having is to get ready. When Congress is back in session, maybe in May, they'll reopen the program again. So what we're doing is encouraging people to get ready for this, and we're educating them on the steps to do and what things to take. Orlando, can you pull that slide back up on the screen, please, so they can see the websites to go to and the resources that they need to have, please?
I sure can.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so those last two are just, specific to South Florida. But I'm sure you have viewers from all over.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so our office in South Florida covers everything south of Orlando. But there are 68 district offices around the country and in the territories as well. So there is someone at the SBA who can help you, no question about it.
For the bridge loan and the 7A, we talked about small business development centers, SBDCs. Would that be consistent around the country?
Yeah.
Guys? Yeah.
Yes, the Small Business Development Center networks are in every state and are there and available to assist you. We have SCORE chapters around the country as well. You can find them online at score.org, as in what was the score of the Gators game? And, and that was a blowout, 35-0. No, I'm kidding. The score.org. I digress. Forgive me.
That's right. SCORE. Yeah. Yeah, we know.
Score.org. The women's business centers. Hurricanes. The women's business centers are around the country. We have a veterans business outreach centers as well who can be helpful. And remember, the services at all of these locations are at no cost to you. Right. Now, some of them will charge nominal fees for workshops and the like, right? But counseling, consulting, mentoring, all of that is always free and no cost to you. You've already paid for it with your tax dollars.
Yeah. And I'm going to show that again, Eric.
Okay.
So they can see the Small Business
there you go.
Center.
There you go.
Women's Business Center.
Perfect.
And that's the address where they can actually go in. And one thing that we've actually been doing within Althea, Senen, and myself, it's just questions, because we've been bombarded with so many questions because the questions actually help us and they make us better. And we can actually respond to a little bit more. So one of the things that Senen did was that we started compiling just some of the questions, and I actually wanted to go ahead and share that as well.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'd be great.
So, because he actually has a on his website, he just actually created, just actually a link for people to go in and ask questions. Why? Because every time we get a new questions, we call and we say, hey, listen, you know what? I just heard this, and someone says, listen,
we were
type
that in the chat. Type that in the chat for me. Real quick.
Send it, type it in the chat.
Type it in the chat for me. So I can copy and paste it online, and then that way we can link. People are lazy.
Yeah.
I know how to.
Excuse me. People are efficient.
Oh, efficient. There you go.
Don't y'all let them talk about you like that. You're efficient.
Efficient, right. Because they're gonna email me and ask me for the same information that we posted.
Of course, they are being efficient.
Right. Yeah. Eric, what was that website link again?
Listen, what was that lady? What's the name of that lady?
Eric.
What was that lady's name that was talking about the Gators?
Right. There you go.
She was talking about the hurricanes, Miami hurricane. That's what she was saying.
She was talking about the Gators. So actually, Orlando, someone says, I have a friend that's offering Montessori products for teaching your children at home, and her website's doing extremely well. So that person pivoted their business.
Listen, congratulations. That's the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because one of the key things is you cannot sit idle. I have time on my hands right now. So one of the things that we did was that we put together these webinars, throughout South Florida to talk about, the CARES Act and to simplify it for a lot of business owners. And it was more so create a game plan. What are you going to do? And it just skyrocketed to an opportunity for us to come in and to say, hey, by the way, what is it that you're doing? So for me, it helped me understand a little bit more of what's going on. And then I could share that information with the business owners that we work with. Because at the end of the day, the reason, well, someone asked me why was I doing this? I said, because I want to save as many businesses as I can. I want to be able to give them as much information because, listen, we're the backbone of the economy. 30 million, over 30 million. No, that's Senen. I think you might have to mute him for now. I think he was trying to change screens. But one thing that I say, listen, we're the backbone of the economy in the United States. Over 30 million, small businesses, according to the SBA, and over 90 million jobs that we create. So we have to stick together because we don't think the same way that other people think. I'm not a 9-to-5er. I cannot work a 9-to-5 job. I'd rather be a greeter at Walmart, but I have to create. And I love to have conversations with people. And I know that a lot of your audience, would have reached out to me in the past. Because I think that at the end of the day, let's pay it forward and let's help it. And to Althea's point, this is America. You know what? We're very resilient. And
That's right, baby.
And we can get over anything and everything. And right now, we may just have to come in and even for a lot of you businesses, this is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. And my thing is that we might be seeing a lot more things that are going to say made in the USA as opposed to made in China.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
And we should, I think, really, you hear the message out there that we're in this together, and unity is the name of the game here. And I think it's if you can stop panicking for a moment, you can start planning, and you can begin to get excited about the future. You can take the time now to realize what you didn't ever realize before. The very thought of being at home all day with my children, 4 of them, was a horrific notion. I loved that they went off to school every day. But now I'm realizing I love them a lot. Of course I do. But yeah, I'm hiding out in my laundry room because I do need for them to be by themselves as if they were in school, and I wasn't there. But I'm realizing, I really do enjoy this. And it's making me wonder, well, hold on a second. What's going to happen? My oldest daughter is at Howard University. That's right, the Mecca. And she's home here schooling. And I'm wondering, what is this going to do to colleges and universities who charge a great deal of money for room and board? Well, she's not rooming and she's not boarding. And what happens with that? And wait a second, if we cannot go back to college, what does this mean about the cost of tuition for these organizations? I mean, do I really have to pay that much when she's sitting here? Using my Wi-Fi and my electricity. Hold on a second, So think about how things have changed. And maybe you can find an intersection for you and your business in this quote new normal. How are things changing? And how do you think they're going to continue to change? And ask yourself, will you go back to the way you used to do things now that you've been in this thing for 30 days? And what do they say? You only need 21 days to establish a new habit.
Yep.
What does this mean? If you successfully moved your business home and your employees are functional and productive at home, are you really going to go back to a commercial space? Do you need that overhead cost? Are you willing to let your employees work from home in exchange for no commute, not having to go downtown, not paying dry cleaning bills, no wear and tear on the car, no, all these costs that are built into actually going to work? Maybe if you think about that, you can find a place in the market for yourself, in this new market.
That was a great closing statement. Orlando?
Listen, that's phenomenal. Thank you. I did with what Althea says. One thing that I will share, and I've heard this, time and time again, we are extremely resilient. And as business owners, one of the key things is making sure that we take this time to do the research. Listen, we are at home with internet and Wi-Fi. Even though it's been slow somewhat, we're not in a hurricane setting where sometimes we don't even have electricity.
Right.
So one of the things that I will encourage is look to see what people are doing, look to see what people can do yourself. And I believe wholeheartedly that during this time, a lot of businesses are going to be birthed because of this time that we're at home because of the pandemic. But I can't wait to see the stories of people saying, while I was at home, sitting down, drinking coffee, you know what, in my best pajamas, I sat back and I had an epiphany.
Right.
Oh my goodness, how can I come in and do something to come in and facilitate and assist and help? And I do believe that in this day and age, we're going to get up better. We're actually going to get up stronger because as Americans, we're extremely resilient. And we're also hopeful. I mean,
That's right.
I believe in the business owners that I work with, and the 30 million small businesses is going to rise to 40 million.
That's right.
Because a lot of people are actually going to be front and center in creating it. And my goal is to encourage as many business owners as I can to let them know that you have people here that believe in you and that we want to encourage you to let you know that things are going to get better. Don't
right.
overthink it. Simplify it.
You know, it's interesting you said that, Orlando. I looked at my podcast guests, and about half of them started right during the recession of 2008, 2009, 10. I mean, they start right in the midst of that recession. And today they have companies that are doing 25, 30, $40 million a year businesses. And they start right during the recession time.
Yeah, 2000. Listen, 2009.
See,
Started 2009.
Right.
You know what?
Yep.
And 2012 was the worst year of my life because everything Orlando touches turned to gold. And that year it didn't. And let me tell you that's where my business shifted and changed.
My story is similar.
From marketing, we went more into the designing and implementing curriculum, you know what, for municipalities and government agencies and organizations. And that was because I would get home and I would try to figure out, get up from bed, go to the sofa, and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I just said, I'm done. So I actually got a contract, and I was doing some training for American Airlines, something I had never done, dangerous goods. And I sat back and I said, I think I need to go back into education and working, because I used to work with middle, high school, and college students. Mm-hmm. And I realized that what business owners go through now is the same thing that my former students used to go through. And that's where I am at today. My business shifted and changed during that time. And I had 3 years that we were struggling before we said, because I was not going to give up and I was not going to throw in the towel. And we do what I do today. And I've been able to build relationships with Senen and with Althea and so many other people that I've met throughout, you know what, my actually lifetime, that they have been a source of information, but not only information, friendship, and not only friendship, family. And I think that as business owners is what we definitely need. We need to pull together as family and help as many people as we can.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Send some
yes,
final
sir.
parting words. We're at a 90-minute mark. I'm going to close. I've received people complain, say, Eric, I can't watch 2-hour videos. I'm like, well, it's good. I just keep going. So I'm going to cut this off at the 90-minute mark.
I'm just, not to obviously reiterate, because Althea was on point, Orlando was on point. I'm just going to say, when it comes to this in general, recognize something that Althea said. I don't know if you said it on this webinar or one before. We're going to get through this. Everything's going to be fine. We're all going to be okay. It's just be aware of your surroundings. And you know what? Take this time, like Althea said, take this time to reassess everything. You have no idea, and going full circle back to when we started this, when we talk about government contracting, take the time to look how you run your business. This is a great time to do some housekeeping. You have no idea, when I do government contracting, and even with the CARES Act, how I find so many mistakes and how people have set things up, how people are running their business. Take an opportunity, look at this as a blessing. go in and reassess how you're running your business. Hey, are you doing things the right way? Are you doing things the most efficient way? Because you never know in how you're doing things. You may not be doing it right. You may not be doing it the best way. Maybe this is an opportunity to look at your business and say, you know, I've been meaning to look into buying that software or buying that piece of equipment. Maybe now is a time that you have a downtime to do that thing, so that when you come out of this, you're coming out of it better than when you came in. And that's always good. And, you know, something that someone reminded me of something about a week ago. He goes, you know, you don't grow when you're comfortable. You grow when you're uncomfortable, when you're not in your comfort zone. And this is a time where you're not comfortable. So grow. Take this opportunity to grow. Take this opportunity to be a better version of you, a better version of your business, so that when you come out of it better. I mean, just to give you a quick, you know, rundown, I was one of those businesses also when I was raising my hand, but of course I realized I was off of the video, that I started in the recession. And through all the ups and downs over the past so many years, you know, I learned to be more efficient. I learned to not need as much in terms of costs. So like right now, thankfully, I'm not in as bad a position as, let's say, other law firms that have these huge operating costs. So what does it mean to me? It means that I can absorb some of these blows. Take that opportunity to do the same thing with your business. Look at your business,
Right.
look at the scenario, so that you can be a better person and a better business. And I'll stop there.
Amen.
Right. Right. Hey, Eric, you know what?
Yes.
No one willingly walks into a crucible, but you're in it now, folks. You're in it and it's hot. But the promise of the crucible is that you come out better, burning off what you don't need so you're better. So you're in it now. How can you come out better?
Oh, this is a great conversation. Listen, Orlando, thank you so much for setting this up. Althea, thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on. Senen, glad to have you back again, brother. Look, it was good. By the way, Orlando, I did speak to Karen last week, actually. We talked.
Yeah.
So,
Listen, I talked to Karen. I think it's daily. We have a webinar tomorrow that we're doing, but I will tell you, Eric, that honestly, I think that this is one of the things that I appreciate, because when I reach out to you about doing this, because I was thinking about your actual followers and the businesses that you work with, and it's just getting the message out there. And I was telling Karen, I said, hey, Karen, let's go ahead and do X, Y, Z. But I do believe that right now, a lot of great things are going to happen. Listen, there's things that are going to happen right now for a lot of us. And I'm really excited about that, because listen, it's already happening with my business. You know, I don't want to go into details, but it's exciting.
Yeah, don't go into the details, because Eric wants to cut off the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Well, no, listen, I don't never want to cut it off, Althea. It's not me. It's people say, Eric, I got 2 hours to watch. I'm like, I didn't make you watch it for 2 hours. You know?
That's right. Listen, it's exciting. Listen,
I'm just here having, like, to me, we're just all having a conversation, right?
Yes.
So I'm getting the feedback, and I love it. I want to keep going. You know, it's just the people say, oh, it's 2 hours long. But no, Orlando, and I agree. We're doing some incredible things as well. And so we're actually growing and expanding, right? While other people are contracting. So, you know, we're experiencing the opposite effect.
Yeah.
And Karen similarly, right?
Exactly. No, Karen is doing phenomenal.
Yeah, right.
Karen is doing phenomenal. And I think that listen, we have conversation about that. But you know what I want to do? And I propose this. Let's go ahead and set a date for us to come back on and highlight some of the emerging leaders, you know what, that have actually been able to pivot, and that they have actually been able to grow and expand with what it is that they're doing, and highlight some of the local businesses to motivate other people, you know, and collect.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. By the way, Althea, someone said this should be on the SBA's website.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
Someone said that in the chat, because you know, no, honestly, I mean, again, my thing is international, right? So surprisingly enough, like my number, when outside of the USA, the number 2 country that watches me is like Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, like that. Well, I think because we have soldiers in those areas, so that's why.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but when I look at my analytics, that's like the number 2. It always flips between like Iraq, Afghanistan. There's always flipping, right? But again, these people are not getting this information, right? And I don't know if everyone's doing this all over the place. Like, I mean, yeah, we know that all of our celebrities are out, you know, singing and dancing, and the political people are out doing their thing. But these conversations, I don't think are being had, because people ask these questions everywhere, right? So we have people asking from California, from South Carolina, from North Carolina, and you just represent one person in the SBA.
Right.
Right. So
And, and on that note, I want to thank you very much for allowing me to be on this evening, because our office has literally been working nonstop since the declaration. And honestly, we were doing 5 webinars a day and 5 virtual office hours a day, 2 of which were in Spanish, for a while. And then and we understood that we were going to be talking to people who knew enough to come to us for information. But what I love about doing your show and being, going over into other communities is I'm able to speak to people who don't know to come to us. They hear these things, but they don't really understand how to get the best information. So I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to come on and talk about what we've been doing to help Americans and American businesses get back on their feet and keep our economy moving. And I love that Orlando suggested that we buy American. I think that it would be very helpful to us going forward.
I have a video. We talked about that.
Okay, good.
I talked about that. And I talked about emergency technology. I got to come out of this when this is all over with. So, I touched on some of those ideas, but we looked at that before. So, hey guys, listen, thank you so much. I'm going to sign off. Everyone says thank you. Randy says thank you. Lamar says thank you. Marty says thank you. Mustafa, Chris,
thank you for hanging in there, folks.
Hey guys, listen,
thank you.
Thank you guys, and thank you, Althea, for what you're doing. I know it's an incredible. I don't think people even understand or comprehend to spend $350 billion in 3 weeks takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at it like saying, "Oh, the money's all gone," but I don't know. I don't know if anybody else could put that together.
That's right, and it was over 4,500 lenders and over 1 million loans. So, that's incredible amount.
That should be what they should be posting on the news, right? Instead of tearing down and saying, "Hey, they ran out of money." Let's look at what the greatness that we did coming together.
Listen,
does good news sell papers? I don't know.
But listen, that
I do good news.
That I saw, actually, I read an article that the cure rate, I guess, for lack of a better word, of the coronavirus is 98%.
Wow.
Right
now, no one ever talks about that, right?
And nobody talks about that because I don't live my life in doom and gloom. So I don't even watch the news anymore. But my thing is, to Althea's point, you come in and you say, this is what we were able to accomplish. Don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive. Because listen, when Maria sent me an email saying, hey, listen, if anybody else going to be on from the SBA, I said, oh, no, I don't know. So I waited till, at 4:45 when we were on another call. And I said, Althea, do you want to be on the call at 5 o'clock?
That's who Orlando is, people.
Listen,
go Orlando. Go Orlando.
And she was like, for how long? I said, maybe 10, 15 minutes. 2 hours later.
We're still here.
Hey, but I want you to recognize my commitment, people.
That's right. That's right. That's right. SBA South Florida, baby. SBA South Florida.
Yes.
Listen, I could only be at SBA for 21 years because I love it. I love it. I love entrepreneurs. I'm married to an entrepreneur. I so admire their courage, their innovation and ingenuity.
You know where I learned from, Althea? Jeffrey Campbell.
No, you did not. Are you still in touch with him?
Jeffrey Campbell, I learned from.
Jeff Campbell to call his sister.
That's where I learned from.
He knows his stuff.
Jeff Campbell taught me.
Yes.
He taught me.
He had been at SBA a long time. He was there when I got there.
He taught me.
There are really good people working at SBA who really care about our small businesses.
I'll pass the message along.
Would you?
Yes, I will.
Say, hey.
I will.
He's my yardie,
Yeah. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to sign off. Everyone, thanks for attending tonight.
Bye now. Take care. Good night.
Bye.